Welcome to San Miguel TV. It is Sunday, January. What is the day? Sunday, 24th. January 24th. There you go. Make sure we got the time and the date right. So, which is amazing. I have two special guests today. I have a former ICGJC member, my brother Terry.
What's up, y'all?
And I have a atheist who has been watching my channel for a while, Jimmy Jordan. Say hi to everybody.
What's going on?
And I wanted to have Jimmy on last week, and I decided to have him on this week with Terry. I thought this would be a great conversation to have somebody's outside perspective. And then we got, the inside perspective of, ex cult members, because also Jimmy Jordan has, I guess we'll get into your story first, Jimmy. How did you first hear about my channel?
So it was probably about a month or two ago. I was in a heated debate with one of my friends, former co-workers. I don't work with him no more, but about his beliefs with the IUIC camp. And I had asked him if he had actually, looked into any ex-members. And, I forget what we were actually debating about or what we were talking about. But he said no. So I ended up just going into YouTube and, former, ex Hebrew Israelite, just something I wrote in there, used the first name that popped up. And I think the first video was why you went from Hebrew Israelite to atheist. I think I can't really remember, but I think that was one of the first videos, and I sent it to him. He didn't watch it, obviously, but I watched it and I said, yo, I really want to, at least just so I can understand his perspective more, I needed to talk to somebody who wasn't, currently in the group. And, at least in my head, I needed to talk to somebody who wasn't in the group so I can actually get like an unfiltered, unbiased explanation for certain things. So that's pretty much how it started. And I think I've just been, I think after I seen that video, I just was playing around in the comments and we just kind of resonated from there.
Right. I've seen you in the comments, and I believe you're an atheist. Did I say? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I am not convinced that there's a God.
When did you realize that?
You down in Florida, right?
What's that?
Down in Florida? You down in Florida, right?
Yes.
As a jit, since I was a jit, since I was about 7 or 8,
Yeah.
I remember going. I don't want to say that I knew fully because I didn't know the term of it, but I was always, you get conditioned, you get conditioned as a kid from believing in the Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, and all these other things, and then then it goes up to the big man in the sky, and I kind of was like, I don't think I really believe it. I didn't really question it as a kid, but it wasn't until really I got into my teen years. And after I graduated high school, I actually moved to Georgia and lived with my father. And he's been an atheist for, I'm pretty sure, a long time. And he just started asking me certain questions. And, I couldn't answer them. And that was pretty much it. And I'm not saying that I couldn't answer them, but he asked me certain questions. And, it kind of solidified, I really never really believed in this. I never really believed that there was a man in the sky. I mean, I could say I might have prayed as a kid. Nothing ever happened. Just because that's what you're told to do. You know what I mean? You're told to do these things. We don't really have a choice at such a young age in what we believe. It wasn't really until I hit early adulthood to where I really was like, all right, yeah, I'm an atheist. But back then, I would say I was an atheist, but didn't understand the arguments. You know what I mean? I just was like, I don't think there's a God, but I don't know why that. It wasn't until I got older, so I was really like, these are the reasons, So.
Right. Okay, so that's interesting because I have a lot of different people that my channel. I have former members. I have atheists. I have current Hebrew Israelites, pretty much.
I didn't know you have two meanings too.
But Me and we
Close the door.
go back. I wanted to talk to Terry a little bit about Tazadakia. Well, Jimmy, you got you know about Tazadakia, right? You found out about Tazadakia just watching my channel, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I'd actually the article we're gonna be talking about today. I didn't even know he died. Like I thought he was still around. I didn't really realize he died from coronavirus. That's crazy.
Yeah. So Terry, what did you think? Because you weren't even around. You found out later on when Tazadakia died. Like, what was that? How did that news come to you, man?
Yeah, man, I was out. Actually, found out through email. I found out through email chain, man. I was out to sea, and I heard about it, and I was just taken away by it. Like I didn't see it coming. Didn't see it coming. You know, I thought that that man was going to be destined to suffer some kind of way, you know, for years, but lo and behold, coronavirus took him right out. And I understand the situation perfectly because it was known that he was a type 2 diabetic, and people who are in that condition are very prone to getting that coronavirus. So that's kind of just how it happened. It was a double whammy, pretty much.
Yeah. And that was already. I mean, this he died on April 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
2020, and so, but you had already been out of the cult. What, 10 years?
So,
2010?
shoot, man, I think coming up in March, April, it'd be about 12 years.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah.
12
years, man.
You left a year. You left about a year, think or two before me, but you kind of just split. You were out. I was like, damn, you literally went. We called it AWOL, because we were militant in there. It was like this whole, you had to report and all of that.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a lot of control though. Like, I mean, I remember when you came in, it was like you kind of just blended right in though, real quick.
Yeah.
Me and you, we was always cool. We used to talk about music and all that. Remember?
Right.
And I always used to. I always saw how you just came in and you just, blended right in, but it was like you was looking for that. It almost was like you was looking for something. Did you feel like maybe that part in your life, that time? How old were you, and like, did you feel like you were looking for something?
Man, I was 20. I was 20 when I first joined. This was back in 2005. Yes, I was about 20 when I first joined, and and you're right, man. You hit the nail on the head. I was looking for something, because I just got a spot. Me and my cousin, we just got our own place. I had a job. I was working, and I was like, man, I need something to do. You know what I'm saying? So, one thing that I was always thinking about was slavery. And it just so happens that one of the brothers, I guess they was out by this bus stop, and they passed me a flyer, and then I was looking at it and said, what about slavery? I had all these scriptures about slavery in the Bible and all this other stuff, and from there that was it. I kept coming to class, and like you said, I fell right in, because I was looking for it. So at a young age, learning these things, interacting with people who thought the same way I thought, interacting, with people who are training or who train the same way that we train, with knowing the scriptures and knowing the Bible, knowing that, like, I held that very dear to my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I actually believed in that stuff. Like, I was so adamant about it. Like, nobody really could tell me anything. And I didn't care what anybody said. At the end of the day, I was going to get my point across, because this is what I was taught, So, like I said, it was very, very dear to me. And that's why with the brother, like, with the brother Jimmy, when you're on the outside and you're trying to convince, like I said, man, it's real hard. Like, it's real hard to convince that person otherwise, because the way they look at the Bible is like, they don't look at it as a religious book. They look at it as like a way of life. Like, they are all out fanatic for it. They got to do every single thing. They say stuff like, oh man, it's over 650 commandments in the Bible. We got to know this stuff. And, they say all that stuff. And it's like, look, dude, like, they just get it drilled in their head all the time. So, I took it very seriously when I was in there. and like the brother Miguel said, the way that I left, my departure, I literally had to physically withdraw myself from that environment, because I knew that if I withdrew myself, but I stayed in that same area, I was going to come back around to it eventually. I knew it. So I physically had to leave like the whole entire area. I had to get on a Greyhound and just dip. And that's what I did. And also even with me departing from that church, there's two kind of ways you can leave, right? You can leave just based off of a personal development that you build up against the place. You can leave based off of actual facts that you've discovered, right? So those are the two ways that people can leave. And I think that a person that leaves on a more personal side, I think that they have a harder time coping with the transitioning out versus somebody who left just based off of real facts. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people in the ICGJC that left based off of real facts, and they, like, as soon as they heard the hypocrisy and the things that were done in the church, they was like, that's it, I'm gone. And then from there, they were just like, I'm not believing in nothing. But for me, it was so much of a hard time to transition out, because I was having dreams about, what I'm saying, like the devil coming out to get me. Like, I was real paranoid because, like I said, I was brought up in thinking that this is life or death. So, me leaving on a personal scale was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to adjust being out of this, because I've known this for X amount of years. So it was very hard to transition out of that.
Yeah, Jimmy, so you had a friend that joined the IUIC now, right? So were you mildly attracted to this at first, maybe initially, because of the, like how Terry was talking about? It's kind of like, fits in line with this, kind of, support for your people. You realize that there's a lot of struggles out here, right? With our people. Say our people, I mean Blacks, Hispanics, that are in need, pretty much. And these things come along as like a salvation in a way. It's how it came along to me, and it became like my vocation. But I know you didn't get that far into it, but your friend did. Now, tell me a little bit about that and what you saw, what he first started telling you about, the cult.
So as far as his, like, it first being introduced to him, I came in after he was already in. Like I'll say this. I see how it could be attractive, especially to somebody who has a conspiratorial mind. You know what I mean? I have a conspiratorial mind. You know what I mean? My father introduced loose change to me at 17. So at 17, I'm sitting here watching documentaries on how, 9/11 was an inside job and all this other stuff. I think my friend, at the same time, we vibed on over many conspiratorial, things. But as I got older and really understood, I use this term all the time, epistemology, why I choose to believe something is, how do I know something is true? I started to move away from a lot of conspiratorial thinking, because a lot of it, we really can't prove it. It's just a lot of stuff that people are saying. There are some facts that kind of correlate, but it's not really what it is. So what I seen with him is when I came back from FMLA with my recent child about 2 years ago, I came into work and he was like, yo, everything you was telling me about the Moors, because I had studied, Kemet, the Moors and all these, a lot of stuff pertaining to, ancient Black cultures and stuff like that, or African cultures, whatever you want to call it. And I would tell him, like, did you know about, the Moors? Did you know about how, just how a lot of, the Greek panthos was taken from Egypt and all this other stuff, Tulsa, Oklahoma, all these other things that at the time he didn't understand. But when I came back, he was telling me like, yo, you were right about what you were saying. I'm like, well, I mean, I know I was right, but what are you talking about? And he was like, oh, I felt. Have you ever heard of the Black Hebrew Israelites? And I'm like, I've heard of them, but as far as from what I've heard, I pretty much thought they were just people who wrote themselves. The Hebrews to me, because I never read the Bible. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say I really can't get through the Bible. And I got a couple questions about how the camps actually read it. But me personally, I can't get through it. Like I can't get past Exodus. Like I just can't. I've tried to. It just doesn't interest me enough. But as far as what he was telling me, he was just saying, all this stuff in the Bible, this is our history, you're a Hebrew Israelite, this, that, and the third. I'm like, I mean, I don't see how you're drawing this connection. How are you getting all this stuff? And he's like, oh, well, all you got to do is read the book, this, that, and the third. And it got to the point where, I started questioning him about, where does he know where the Bible, how the Bible originated, like the Council of Nicaea, and if the Hebrew Israelites, if they fact check the Bible with Codex Sinaiticus or the Septuagint and all these other things that predate the King James version. He didn't have answers for that because I believe he had first started at he was still new in it. So he really couldn't answer the questions, but it's like the questions I was asking him when he would go to his elders or whoever he went to go talk to with his camp, it kind of, the stuff that they were telling him were kind of like solidifying his belief, even though everything that they were saying to him was kind of like contrary to what I was saying. So it's like, the information is here. We can all look it up, but I kind of feel like, he kind of went to a biased source to get his facts from it, to get his facts. So it's like, when we go into the Codex or the Septuagint, the original Septuagint is in Hebrew. I don't know. I think it's in Hebrew.
Yeah.
And, I asked him, do your elders go through the Septuagint and line it up with Deuteronomy, 28:68 or whatever? And he said, oh, it says the same thing. I said, are you sure? Because from what I've seen, it doesn't say what you're saying it says. It doesn't match up. And, there really wasn't an answer for it. So it was just kind of, as far as just seeing it, it just didn't click for me. I mean,
Right.
One of the main things is that I've already researched a lot of, just atrocities that happened to the Black community way before the Hebrew Israelites. So I was like, I don't really need to be with the Hebrew Israelites to learn the history of my people. What's going on, baby? Oh, I'm sorry. You good? What do you need? You can just ask me. Just ask me. Oh, I don't think she needs nothing. But yeah.
But yeah, that's something that they like to do. This is done with the Black Moors, right, in the Moorish temple. This is done in the NOI, the Nation of Islam. That Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. Yeah, they're even doing that now with like BLM and stuff. They're even like pushing that in people's faces to show it. Look how horrible this country has been to the Black man and woman, and that kind of like what that does is put you. It's what cults do. It's like put you in this us versus them mentality, pretty much.
Yeah.
Separate you, from your family. They separate your friend from you. They separated your friend from you, pretty much.
Yeah.
And from a person that's on the outside, when I was on the inside, I had some family that didn't know how to respond to it because I had an answer for almost everything. Especially the fact that most of them are Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't read the Bible a lot like that. Like Catholics are not really, they're known for not even being really, dedicated to what they preach. They're usually hypocrites. But I have family that are like dedicated Catholics, though, like some, but the majority of them are not. So I grew up not really knowing scriptures. I tried to read Genesis. And then when, I finally came across the Hebrew Israelite thing, they had some answers. It didn't mean it was the right answers.
Mhm.
I didn't know they were the right answers, whether they were right or wrong. It just sounded good, and they were just interpreting the scriptures in a way where it was like, I don't know. I just remember the Revelation, you know, the color of Christ. I'm sure he probably tried to pull that one on you, that Jesus Christ is
Yeah.
black, right? That's
Mhm.
a popular one, you know. And if you don't see the tricks, you know, it'll, you know, you won't notice it. It'll go right by you, you know. Terry, what was the first thing that what brought you in? What was like the scripture? Do you remember what was like what convinced you?
Oh man,
Who was it? I might know him.
that was a brother Shayar.
Ah, my guy. That's my guy right there.
Yeah. That was him. He you know, he took me in, you know, and showed me everything you know, that I had questions for. You know, like you say, the people that are inside, they have a question, or excuse me, they have an answer for everything. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of like what it was. I did kind of have that I did kind of have like a little counter thought, like, you know, this, like when I first like start going to the so-called temple or whatever, I was like, man, this look like a cult. Like that's what I said at first. But I
Yeah.
was like, nah, man, I'm gonna block that out. You know, they keep telling me that's probably Satan in my mind. You know, they would make us, you know, go against our own thoughts, right? So, but I kept going, and that's how I got stuck in there. But yeah, just, you know, just anything about slavery, man, and like Black history, that was something that I was real interested in. So, you know, that, like I said, it was something that I was looking for, you know,
Right.
and I found it, or, you know, I believe that I thought I found it there.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's
What were some of the other things they like to bring up in history besides Tulsa, Oklahoma? They like to bring up Rosewood. Rosewood is another one that's actually happened in Florida, and that's
yeah,
happened not too long ago too.
Yeah, I was like,
A year,
19.
like in 1920, I think.
Mhm.
yeah,
And I remember watching that movie
With
with
Ving Rhames.
with Ving Rhames and Don Cheadle and John Voight.
Yeah.
It was a great movie, and then I remember looking it up later, and I'm like, man, this is like horrible. This is
yeah,
a crazy story. You know, the neighboring town, is still like the ancestors of these people are still around.
yeah,
So it's like I knew, and then I knew that, okay, yeah, racism is an issue, and this is a country where the majority is white. We live in a white world, you know, a white country. At least, you know, the majority of the people in the totality in all the states, you know. So yeah, I mean, you feel underrepresented, you know, you feel like you just don't get your voice heard, and you know, we're the minority. So when this came along, to me, it was like, you know, and then it put blacks and Hispanics together, which in New York City, that's what all you see is blacks and Hispanics together.
yep,
So, and you know, so it would just click to me. But you know, what it does is separate you immediately. Right? So that's one thing that you know, I was noticing, is that I was getting into a lot of arguments. So did you get into a lot of arguments, Terry?
oh
With
yeah. Yeah, with my family, family, friends, you know, just, you know, that's part of that control tactic. You know, the more that they can separate you from the people who actually care about you, the more that they can control you. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what it boils down to, is like, you know, they want to keep you as far away from what could distract you from being a part of that organization as much as possible. You know, like they want to be able to control you. You know, that kind of goes into like how like you remember when the Lancaster church was broke into? You
Yeah,
remember that?
right. Yeah.
And we had to stay, we had to stay in this church with the door unlocked. Like, we had no guns, no weapons, nothing to protect us from the outside forces that could potentially harm us. Right. You know, but we thinking we doing this for Christ, for God. Now we doing that because somebody told us to do that. We, you know, we in this building just stand and watch, thinking we stand and watch doing something good, man. You know, it's all about that control. I seen brothers who would stand in which what they call it, at ease. Well, it's another name, Majim Shabbat. They would stand at ease in a parking spot at a hotel for the leader, Jermaine, for him to be able to park.
Actually,
you remember that?
Isn't it called that attention?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like they would have a grown ass man standing in the parking lot in a parking spot for the leader to pull in park in that spot. It's that control. Like when the Archangel Awards came down to Orlando, the leader had this big ass tour bus wrapped with his face on it all over the place, and he had two brothers sitting in the parking lot watching this tour bus the whole time. It was like almost 12 hours, man, like just watching that thing for no reason, just sitting there watching it. Yeah. Like it was not a soul was around that bus at all, but he had people watching that bus. It's the stuff that they make us do, like to control us, man. It was real jacked up, and then they would try to discourage you, right? They would be like, oh, brother, you got an attitude. That's Satan. No, brother, you got to do this for Christ, brother. Like, just try to beat that in your mind. Like, damn, man, what am I doing this for? No, I can't think like that. That's Satan. And they would have us like thinking like that. It was real jacked up.
Yeah. That's because once they got you in there, that heavy, like the fear tactics and the identity that you connect with the cult. You have you feel like you're actually connecting with them, and then like meeting people like you, me and you click, that probably like pushes or keeps people in, like Shayar Raka also, like you mentioned Shayar, he's a brother that I used to always call, like Jimmy, you saying that your friend would come up with a good rebuttal and then he would go back and come up with another answer. That's what I would do. I would call somebody like Shayar, he was there before us. Me and you came in 04. Didn't you come in 04?
Oh, it was 05.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember when you came in. It was recent, just when I came in. So yeah, Shayar was like that one guy that we came to for answers, And when we would go and talk to our friends or our family, we would have to come back, and if we didn't have a good answer, it would be, well, this is what's going to happen anyways, because there's scriptures that tell you that your family and your friends are going to come up against you. So that even solidifies it even more when you're coming up.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it would.
So that's what you came across. But yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm just thinking back, man. Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny. Even though I was not, a member of, the Hebrew Israelites, I've dealt with, I've been involved with, a cult-like organizations. I was in network marketing for like 3-4 years. You know what I mean? With a company called Stream, and I wouldn't say that everybody in it, was full on. It was. I can see the signs of cult-like behavior. You know what I mean? So when it came to the fact with a lot of network marketing companies, they push self-help, and if you're not successful in the company, it's your own fault because you didn't have the right mindset to actually be successful. Failing to point out that a lot of it comes with network. It's network marketing. So if you have a good network, you'll be able to be successful in it. But if you don't, you're going to have to do a lot of things that a lot of people aren't willing to do that involve sales and talking to people. And it's out of a lot of people's comfort zone. It was out of mine, but at the same time, I always see things as, whatever makes me uncomfortable is, is probably something I'm supposed to be doing to get better as a person. So, sorry, this dog barking. But lost my train of thought for a second. But it just goes to show you, like, I can see certain cult-like tendencies that happen in, even other groups that I wasn't even a part of. I watched him change his clothing. We was having full-on debates at school. I mean, not at school, at work. at work in the middle of us working, having full on debate, still working, but that's just, you know, the type of person we are. We're sitting here trying to get our points across to each other, but at the same time, I'm sitting there telling him, you know, you're in a cult, bro. He's like, I'm not in a cult. They told me you would. They said you would say everything's a cult. I said,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay. I mean, we can argue. We can make the argument that everything is a cult, but again, what you are is definitely it's definitely as
cult like argument that everything is a cult. He said that.
He said pretty much almost all organizations have some sort of cult-like tendencies, and I agree.
Your job is a cult. That's what we will be told. Remember, Terry?
Yep.
Your job is a cult.
Yeah, that's what the doctor would say. It's a cult. Your job is a cult. You know, he would say things like
it's you know,
like,
it was crazy. It was crazy because we would really get into some heated not heated, like we was never ready about the fight or anything. It was just, you know, we have two strong personalities talking about something we're both, you know,
it could heated, especially when it's somebody that you care about, you know. It could get really heated. I was having a conversation this morning with somebody that, you know, I got a lot of love for, but he's a believer in the Bible, right? And he was asking me questions, and we just like, it just started getting crazy, and we were like, you know what, let's just drop it because we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
You know? And I think when you get to that point, then it's like, okay, you know, what can I do here? I can't force, you know, anybody to do anything they don't want to do. I see, you know, it's like you want to respect that person's right to their belief, right? But then at the same time, you care about them not being involved in a cult that's going to destroy their life and take over their life and divide their family and friends, you know, which is what happens. It happens all the time. So yeah, that's crazy.
I would even add, like, to me, the one thing that was said a lot is, oh, you know, because me personally, like, I'm on a different journey in my life. Like I'm in a state where I'm trying to build a legacy for my kids. You know, I got 3 kids. I'm trying to, you know, better myself as a person, not only, you know, I guess financially, but also just morally. You know what I mean? Just really just understanding, like, you know, I don't have all the answers, but at the end of the day, like I told you guys before we went live, like, as long as, you know, I see you as a man, as long as you're taking care of your family, we're equal. I don't care, you know, what you believe, you know, because at the end of the day, we're both out here. We both have kids to feed. Where I saw a problem is that he's sitting there telling me, oh, you're all about, you know, the materialistic and, you know, making money and doing all this other stuff. I'm here on a spiritual journey. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but, you know, your kids got to eat, bro. Like, you know, I don't understand why you're setting everything up for a spiritual afterlife that you're not even sure is even here, is going to be here. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that I know that is guaranteed is this life right here. So I need to make sure that this life for me and my kids, make sure that they're set up. And to me, your book, your belief, your doctrine is hindering that. And, you know, at the end of the day, I just want the best for you. You know what I mean? So, you know, whether you want to believe, you know, that is cool, but I kind of feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot, because now you're sitting here, you're not evolving as a person to, you know, I guess, be a better person. You know what I mean? Because in my eyes, you've become a worse person, because I asked you certain questions, like, you know, if you've seen a person starving in the street, you know, and they ask you for $1, would you, you know, and you know they're starving, you know their plight, would you help them out? And his response was, if they wasn't an Israelite, screw them. I'm like, well, damn, you know, how is that moral? Like, I mean, how is that even something good to do? Like, to me personally, I didn't understand it, and I'm just like, you know, you progressively became a worse person since you joined this group, because you're so dead set on, you know, being upset with what, I mean, for me, from my eyes, you're so upset for what white people have done to, you know, a group of people that you know, that you feel is wrong, and it is wrong. But at the end of the day, not every white person is responsible for these things. So how are you going to vilify a whole group of people based off the actions of a few? It's almost the same thing of what they did to us throughout history, saying, you know, all black people were thugs and rapists. You know, they're the thugs are selling drugs. I mean, it's the same thing you're doing. You're categorizing a whole group of people based off the actions of a few.
Right.
You know, but they, you know, he kind of fails to realize that. I'm like, maybe he does see it and just fails to, you know,
I think their way around that one, and I think Terry, you could probably remember this. We used to say, well, I think there's a scripture in Isaiah, actually, chapter 14, where it says that let the children pay for the sins of the father, something like that. So like they place blame on, it's a group blame. It's group. Everything is group think. It's a herd mentality. Everything moves in groups. Like if you don't move with the unit, you stand out like a sore thumb right away. I remember, Terry, when you started falling out, I noticed it. I noticed that you weren't there. Like something was off, and I'm like, you know, I noticed it right away because I think it first started. Do you remember when the Archangel Awards happened in Orlando, the first one, and we were given responsibilities to take care of the shuttle van?
Man, yeah, that was crazy, man.
You got a higher rank, right? You were a general at that time, and you got your rank taken away.
Yeah, I was a general at the time, and we was in charge of the shuttle because we had to take people to, like, you know, pharmaceutical stores, Walgreens or CVS. And like they couldn't go anywhere else. That was the only place that they can go.
Right.
And at the time, I think, it was me, you, Malakama, Zion, and I think somebody else was there too.
Yeah.
And we was only supposed to be responsible for the people that was within the villa, right?
Yeah.
But there was a brother that got one of their cell phone numbers, and I guess he was coming like off of a flight somewhere, and he was trying to get somebody to come get him from the Orlando airport.
Right.
And Jermaine walks in. He's looking at me. He's like, "All right, what's going on?" And then I told him, I was like, "Well, you know, this going on, and then we got this brother trying to come from the airport." Jermaine was like, "No, man, that brother should have came down with the people. Hang the phone up." And
Right.
and the brother he was talking to was Zion. And the thing that was crazy was, so he told Zion to hang the phone up. Zion was trying to get directions to get to the airport from the villa, and he was on the phone talking to somebody. And as the person was giving directions, Zion was like, well, he was like hesitant, like I can't just hang up in this person's face. And then Tazadaki was like, "No, Zion, hang the phone up now, brother. What you doing, Ak?" And then he hung the phone up. And just that little hesitant gesture right there is what set Jermaine off. I don't know what it was about that specific moment, but that set him off. So me and Zion, we got pulled into council, and he just going at us like just like a rabid dog. And then what make it so bad, because it was him, Ariyah, Shar. I think all the so-called apostles was there. Wow. And he was really beating the dead horse. Like he was trying to make them reprimand us when they wasn't even there to begin with. Like he was just like, you got anything else to say, Shar? To Zapawan? Like he was just trying to get them to keep reprimanding us for no reason. So because of that, I lost my rank. Because I guess I didn't follow the protocol and only deal with the people that was in the villa. Zion, he was a general too, but then he didn't get busted down. He just became a citizen for like forever.
Right.
So like that really I guess that messed with him a lot. I got busted down to an officer of 500, and one of the brothers that used to roll with Jermaine, he was part of his security team, Nabia, General Nabia. I'll never forget what this dude told me, man. After the council, I was out there sitting, and he was like, man, it's never about rank, man. He was like, don't ever think about it in the form of rank. Rank is what messes you up, because you get prideful. And I was like, all right, I'll take that. I'll take that lesson or whatever it was he taught me at that time. But General Nabi was a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
It's
one of the
crazy.
Guards with Karata Zagabar.
What's that?
He was one of like Tazadaki's security guards with Karata Zagabar.
Yeah.
Right? Was that the other brother's name? Karatza Gabar?
Yeah, the taller brother.
Yeah, because I remember that entire weekend at the villas. I was like in charge of a lot of things, man. Because once they took your rank away, like I was one of the highest ranks at that moment. So I just remember I must have stepped out. I stepped out like for 5 minutes when Tazadake came in because I would have got my rank taken away too because I was in there helping y'all.
Yeah.
So I must have just like had just missed them.
Right.
And I went down. I remember going downstairs and I forgot what I did, but I came back and I saw Tazadake leaving and he asked me if I'm going home. And I was like, whatever, I don't know. Whenever, if I'm dismissed, I guess I said something like that.
Yeah.
He just drove off. He didn't say nothing. And I saw you come down and you look like you just got your soul taken away from you.
Yeah.
Like somebody took away your lunch, man.
Yeah.
Really down. And it was like, you told me you just got your rank taken away. And I was like, what the hell just happened? Like we were trying to help everybody out. We weren't given specific orders on who to help. We were told, hold it down here in this office. Don't let anybody else in here, just you guys. And I was basically creating a schedule for people to drive shuttle vans. I had to make sure everybody had a license, and like everything was controlled. Just like, and it wasn't really like we weren't given instructions. It was just kind of on the fly. And so like in our trying to help out, we still get reprimanded. Like that's how hard the control is. You can never do anything right. Like you're always told that, this is not, even if you do something right, it's like, don't get all prideful, brother. It's like always a way to keep your spirit like dim.
Yeah, kick you down or something.
Yeah, and that rank is they have a ranking structure in the IUIC too, Jimmy. I'm sure. I don't know how long your friend has been in there, but depending on how long in there, does he have rank?
I don't think so, but I know I've seen him because they were preaching on a couple streets where I'm from here in Central PA, but I think just recently they started. They're supposed to be opening up a chapter, or I don't know what they call it, a chapter or a camp up here, and they were like going to like DC like every Saturday or whatever. He actually keeps trying. He's trying to get me to come out to the corner and or one of their clubhouse meetings or whatever. I might one of these days, but I'm not sure. I don't think he has rank, but I do feel as if they're grooming him to like, what is it called? Do flyer missions or speak, or I'm not sure what it's called, but I believe that's what they're grooming him to do. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why we get in such deep conversations about it, because he's kind of being trained up on how to deal with somebody. I mean, from what I understand, I don't even think they like to even talk to atheists. I think a lot they really try to talk to like Christians and other people, Christians and other religious beliefs. Because I actually called the DC camp and was trying to actually talk to just somebody who knew more, just because I had other questions that he couldn't answer. Because again, to be honest, it's fascinating to me. It genuinely is fascinating to me, to see why and what reasons people believe what they believe. You know what I mean? So it kind of just comes from that point. But as far as to answer your question about his rank, I kind of rambled off for a little bit. But no, I don't think he has any rank. I remember he was coming into work and he was getting all the what is it, the tassels stitched into the bottom of his shirts. Fringes. Fringes. Sorry, fringes. Yeah. All the bottom of his shirts and whatnot. Right. And it was just crazy to me because he was getting upset because people at work kept asking him about it. And I'm like, don't get upset. I mean, this is what you asked for. I mean, you come in here with this stuff and you think people aren't going to ask you questions about it. I mean,
that's one thing that's different about IUIC, because I have an older cousin that is in that cult up in New York, and I went to visit his mother, and he came in after doing the camp, And he looked at me like, because he watched my channel. He knows I'm doing this, and they put fringes on their shirts. We didn't do that in the ICGJC.
Yeah,
right?
we didn't do that.
We put fringes on our shirts. It was
On their shirts.
yeah, and it's like we only had fringes when we threw on our garment. And then you remember one time, Terry, there was a dude from the IUIC. He's actually still in there. His name is Abaya Allah, and has really high rank now. But he was the only brother in the IUIC in Orlando, and he would come to our camp whenever we held a camp.
Yeah.
To you one time, and he was asking, "How come you guys only wear fringes just when you in camp? You don't wear fringes everywhere. The scriptures tell you blah blah blah." And we didn't have an answer for the guy.
Yeah, we didn't.
Really didn't have an answer because the scriptures does say that you have to put fringes in the borders of all your garments, not just the garment that you wear when you're in class or whatever. You know, like the IUIC, they wanted to stress that because that was a difference in the cult. With all the similarities that they have, the few differences, they love to, zoom in on that and kind of emphasize on that as if it's such a big deal. And it separates them completely just because they put fringes on their t-shirt. It's like that don't make no difference. So yeah, my cousin was one of those that he put it on all his shirts, and they have to. But in the ICGJC, if you didn't have that garment, like you're a recruit, you have to wear all black.
Yeah,
you got a beanie, the boots, and all of that, and all black shirt. So
he would come to work like that. He would come to work in all black, combat boots on, combat pants, and I'm like, bro, I mean, do what you want. I kind of, I'm sort of kind of a libertarian, so do what you want. You know what I mean? But but when you're asked questions about why you're doing these things and people look at you crazy, I mean, you should kind of expect it at this point. You know what I mean? It's just.
I mean, like what we were told was because we're in captivity, we don't have to keep all of the commandments. So that's a way around keeping some of the commandments, because there was a lot of things that we didn't do, right? We didn't. The Feast of Tabernacles requires you to be like outdoors in tents.
Yeah.
The Feast of Tabernacles were tents that we were supposed to like be outside. And I remember Tazadaki saying that he was thinking about renting out like a park or something, so we can all go out there and spend 7 days in tents. I mean, I hope he wasn't talking about Central Park or something. Some damn national park somewhere. It's just craziness, bro.
Yeah. And like the mixed garments too.
The mixed garment?
Yeah, like the mixed material of garments.
Right. Yeah. The scripture tells you that you can't have 30% polyester, 30% nylon, 30% cotton. You can't have a shirt like that.
Jimmy shaking his head.
And then, coming from my position, it's like, why does your God even care? Like, I mean, there's much things that's going on in the world, and that we could possibly, that he could possibly give you guidance for. He's worried about, what clothes you're wearing. You know what I mean? Like, it to me, it just, for lack of a better word, it's just crazy to me, man. Like, it really is. I genuinely just don't
you
understand
can't,
it.
if you're not under the mind control yourself. Yeah. For looking on the outside, it's like we must have looked crazy. We would be out on what was the high school? Jones High School, Oak Ridge High School.
Jones High School.
We'd be out in these high schools out here in Central Florida and Orlando, in the fields that they have their sports events, and we literally would just take over their field, and it would be on a weekend, but we would take over the field and do our workouts, our laps. We run laps, and
in all black.
Yeah, with the all black in the heat, in the Florida heat and humidity, and then
Florida be something special.
Yeah, but then if you were in Lion's Den, which is a way to punish you even further, if you are disobedient member, then you have to spend an hour in this rigorous training I remember that, man. That was some crazy stuff. The knuckle push-ups, you know, on the concrete. We got do knuckle push-ups on the concrete. We would do the frog leaps. We put our hands over our heads and just do the frog leaps. All types of crazy stuff that would leave you like for days just sore, where if you laugh, it'll hurt, you know, stuff like that. And then I forgot, I don't think I ever brought this out. On top of Lion's Den, there was something called Leviathan's Den. You ever remember that?
I remember Leviathan's Den.
What was that? Like, that must have been like they were really trying to kill you.
Man, at this point, I'm just glad I never went through it, man.
Oh, you went through it? Okay, yeah, I know I went through Lion's Den, but not that Leviathan's Den.
Yeah.
And I was put over Lion's Den, so I would have to actually force some of the members to do some of these things, man.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Gary recently because he's out now, and he was like, "Man, you was always tough. You were tough as hell on Lion's Den." I was like, "Not bad. I don't know."
Yeah.
You know, it was part of the whole mind control. You know, looking back at it now, it was inhumane.
Yeah.
Because like a brother like Kalatzaziyar, man, Kalatzaziyar had back problems.
Yeah, for a long time.
He probably still hurting behind that because he already had back problems, and then they forced him to do Lions Den. They were like, "Come on, brother, get up," you know, like as if he's just, you know, it's crazy, man. And you don't do that. You don't. That's not normal behavior unless you're just conditioned to think that this is normal.
Yeah.
You were conditioned to think that being yelled at was normal, you know, even though like certain brothers have certain like vibes that they weren't so overbearing like that. I know I was like that. You were like that too, Terry. We didn't have a relationship that was like crazy like that. But I look at certain brothers, I'm like, yeah, some of these brothers were a little bit too much. Yashar always comes to mind, you know. But the mind control, I think, it's heavy. It could be like to certain degrees, you know, like I don't know what happened with me. I think I guess because I was just being pushed so much. After a while, it was like you start to push back. You just, you know, you just get to a certain point where it's like you just have to push back for your own like well-being and mental health.
Yeah.
Taking too much without speaking out. It has to take a toll on you, you know.
Man,
but yeah,
I've seen a lot of brothers, man, just cry, just out of frustration, man. Like just crying, like just out of frustration because they had a lot to deal with. You know, not only do they have to take care of, you know, their family, their kids, but you know, there could be another family in that brother's house who doesn't have everything, and he's taking care of them too. And he's just in this whole situation like, damn, like I'm the only provider. I don't have time for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have time for my wife. I don't have time for my kids. I'm always doing this. I'm always doing that. You know, and I've seen brothers like just be on the brink of just getting out. Like I've seen it, you know, they cry out of frustration, man. It was bad. It was stressful for them, you know? Well, one thing I like to bring up too, you know, just with the whole thing with the, Hebrew Academy Lions Den is like if you ever notice, we never had anybody who was a medical professional, you know, nobody who could do CPR just in case something happened, you know. And you just imagine us sitting around and a brother having a seizure. Oh man, that's just the flesh, you know. He'll snap out of it like this. That's how Cass was thinking, man. Like you can't, you know, you can't think that way. But that's how people thought, man. But you know,
or is oh, you got the demon, or that's the flesh and you're not in the spirit.
Yeah.
You know, like, or you can't do push-ups, or you ain't right. You can't get right. And it's always, oh, you just ain't in the spirit. Something's wrong with you. You can't get right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just destroying your spirit completely.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I always ask the question, what is the characteristics of being in the spirit? Like I always ask that question. Like what does that even mean? Like, because I've been told that before, you know what I mean? So, you know, you're not, you know, if it resonated with you, you'd be in the spirit. I'm like, well, so because I'm critically thinking through what you're telling me right now, I'm not in the spirit. Your God doesn't, you know, like critical thinkers. He doesn't like people who, you know, try to rationalize or try to figure out what he's actually, what's actually going on here, you know?
Right.
Because I've been told that.
to being submissive. That's what it is. Just be submissive. That's what that is, Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. You know what I mean? As I think as a man, like you said earlier, just being the only person, that's, you're dedicating your life to this cult.
Yeah.
And for my friend's instance, it's like there was instances where he would be like, oh, you shouldn't even, little background. I do wholesale real estate. So during when I first started, I was, just trying to get a bunch of buyers, and at our job there was a lot of like high paid engineers that I know did real estate. Most of them were, Caucasian or Indian or or some other ethnic group that wasn't black. And he would literally tell me, oh, they're not for you. They're not really going to help you. They just, I'm like, well, if I move like that and didn't network and network with people outside of my own race or whatever. I mean, I'm multiracial, but outside of my own group, I would never get anywhere. That's not how business works. Nobody, like, there's a reason, I always use the argument, a business can say, hey, we're not gonna serve, people of color here, right? We're not gonna do that. Yeah, they can say that, but if in effect, it's going to effectively marginalize the people that they can do business with. And from a business mindset, that makes no sense for you to do that and marginalize a whole group of people because you don't want to do business with them. The whole point of business is profit. So if you're going to marginalize half, not even half, 2/3 of your potential customer base, you're probably not going to be in business for too long. You know what I mean? And it's almost the same mindset. It's like, why would I bar myself from doing business with people that I know are looking for certain things that I can provide? It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's just another thing that I realized, like, this group is really, it really hinders a lot of people. It puts people out. From me looking from the outside in, it's like it puts you into a state of dependence on the group, but it kind of tricks you to make you feel as if you're independent. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Did you feel you were independent for a while there, Terry?
I will say, when I first joined, when I was first in that, like, I had, like, I want to say about maybe 3 to 4 months to where I was doing my own thing, because I wasn't like part of no unit work group. I wasn't going out to camp. I wasn't in the Hebrew Academy. So, like, when I first joined, I was good. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go here on Saturday, and then that was it. And that's all I did for like a good 3-4 months. And then after that, that's when it started to get serious. Like, you got to start coming here. We got to start doing this. And then that's when I stepped up and did what we did down there in Orlando. So, but yeah, man, I kind of had a sense of independence all before that. And then after that, because one thing that you and the brother Alex talked about. By the way, I like the way that y'all articulated Tahawan, man. That was real good, man. That brought back some memories.
Oh, man. There's more I wanted to bring out. There's a lot more, but yeah.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is just whenever he came down there, that was when, like, that whole authoritarian society became like really in effect down there. Because before that, man, like you say, brothers was vibing. We was chilling, playing spades, drinking 40s. Eating good, man. We was good. But then after that, it just kind of came into like this whole clash of, look, this is order. We got to be in order. We got to do this. We got to do that. Before that, man, we was good.
Yeah. Tahawan brought the hammer down. They sent Isaiah Nathan was already down, so he was already like, he had the captain rank. So captain is not so high, but it's still high enough where you can teach.
Right.
You have to have a certain rank to teach, and you get ranked just being there a certain amount of time, of course. And so he was already there. Somebody had left that was down in Miami helping him out. There was like a bunch of different splits already. Like even there were splits like all over, not just in New York. Like Miami split. Like there were splits everywhere. And then when they sent down Rosh one, that's when you were coming around. That's when you came around. 05. because that's when they set up the Hebrew Academy. It was right when you literally came in like a month before the Hebrew Academy was set up or something like that, like a few months. And then because it was just the beginning of me coming in too, so everything was just a shock. Like how Alex said, it was a real culture shock when Tahawam came in. It took me back, and I was like, yeah, I know what he's talking about, because being around like the brothers, you know, we were all like the same age, and we weren't. It was kind of like we didn't have like that guidance, that the control was what it was. We didn't have that control, or the cult didn't have that control that it wanted. That Azadakia placed eventually once he started his world, you know, tour. Yeah. That's when it started really. He was like, okay, I'm gonna start sending people out, and these are like his henchmen. You know, knew that he can push these people. With Tahawam, though, I don't know. I think that Tahawam liked to do his own thing. He didn't like to give Tazadakia any reverence like that and I didn't really see him ever break down the comforted doctrine like that. Right. He would just talk about it as if, well, that's what we're taught. But he didn't think that he even believed it. But he just kind of went with it because he was so used to a whole different doctrine. He had went through so many different changes. Man. Yeah, I mean, and he was in there for so long that he must have like been able to see it easily. Like, you know, I wish I could speak to that man right now, you know, because he was such a good somebody to look up to, at least at the time. You know, even though he had his flaws, it was somebody, like, he was older than us, and he was like that first figure that we had real close to us in Orlando. He literally slept in the church. Yep. He slept in the church. He didn't have an apartment. He didn't have a job. And I think I brought him up, and I said that he didn't care about his family before. I don't want to get this twisted, because he has a beautiful wife and children, and I wasn't talking about that family. The family that he had before, his brother, and he had, like, you know, I think he had a few brothers and a sister or something like that. The Hightower, his name is Hightower. His family, he didn't care about them. He would always say how he pretty much you know, just calls them when he needs money or something like that. Remember he would say that? Yeah. And be like, "You're gonna give me the money or what?" Because he knew that they didn't believe. You know, so his whole thing was, you know, I got to do this thing for the church. I'm out here. I don't have a job. He didn't have a job. You know? So, you know, just to clear that up in case there was any misunderstanding, which I definitely was not trying to put out there about his family, because he literally left the cult if in his position for his wife and his family. You know, and Tazadakia, I felt like Tazadakia was hating on that, and the fact that he found love, and this guy was like, Jimmy, I'm talking about a teacher that was hardcore, like Israelite, like he cursed people out on the mic, literally, like telling people they're gonna go to hell for being, you know, all types of slurs, man, all types of slurs. And then he, me and Zaquan were at the Walmart, the big Walmart on the east side one time, and we teach his wife. She comes in, she starts calling all the time, and he lived at the temple, so he would always pick up, and they started talking, you know, they started getting to know each other. And this man, literally, like, you know, he used to say he's a eunuch, and that he was never gonna get married, and that he's, you know, he was basically he is married to the church. He used to say that before he met her. And then he met her and just said, you know what? I'm in love. Remember, he was so happy. And he announced it at a picnic, at a family picnic, that he was getting married. And it was a beautiful thing. Everybody clapped. We were confused because there was no courtship. You know, it was supposed to be like a courtship or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so that's the way that they control, you know, the relationships in there. You have to have a courtship. You have to go through a courtship. So Tahawam, I guess he got his rank taken away, and yeah, man, it was just straight, like, for what, man? Like, who cares about the stupid courtship? Tazadakia didn't even follow that, but he wanted to enforce that on all the members, and Tahawam took it, and the story. The sister told her story. She had her own YouTube channel. I think she took the videos down after he passed away, but she had some beautiful videos with him. They looked like they were really enjoying themselves, after life in the cult, which they were once homeless. They once literally lived in the street in New York City, and they would sleep in bus stations and train stations, and because or they would have to sleep in the Hebrew house, but you can only be in the Hebrew house for so long. They kick you out after a while. And Dahawam was a person that this cult took complete control over his life. He had no other skills. He had nothing else to do in life. He worked at the 7-Eleven. They forced him to get a job. Remember that? Because he wouldn't work. He really he hated everything about the world. Like in America, he hated everything about everything. All he wanted to do was teach the doctrine and be there for the church. That was his life. And then he met this beautiful woman and fell in love, and his life got so much better. His life was getting better, and he left the cult and all that, and it was better. And I'm sure he had a way better life after the cult. Just to reminisce about that man, because he holds a very important place in my memory. In that cult. I just think about that guy a lot, man. He was a great dude.
Yeah.
That control. I mean, like, they completely took control of that man's life. He ate very unhealthy. He was always eating peanuts. That's what he would eat. He didn't have any money. They didn't give him any money.
Right.
They didn't support him and say, here's what you get, for helping out and for being a high priest of states and moving at the drop of a dime. He went from South Carolina. He went from Philly to South Carolina, and then they sent him to Minnesota, and then they sent him to Florida to teach us. So they were moving him from one church to another.
Yeah.
And Tahawam, think about it. What other skills are you going to get in a cult that takes up all your time and all you do is read the Bible all the time? What can you do in the world?
20 plus years, man. 20 plus years, and it's embedded in your mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like I can't even fathom it. Like coming just looking from my perspective, I can't even. And I got kids.
And this man wasn't a stupid guy. He wasn't dumb.
No, he was very smart. He's very intelligent.
I'm sure.
His memory was sharp. Yeah. Sometimes he'll forget where he was, right? He'll be like, where am I?
What church? Oh, yeah.
But when it came to the scriptures, man, he was on point. He'd be like, what scripture is that? He'd be like, Isaiah 45:6. Boom. And it'd be like, just like a machine. Because that's all he did was, teach the Bible. Yeah.
That kind of prompts a question. Like when you were in the cult, and you guys would actually read like at a camp, I guess at a camp meeting or whatever, would your leaders or elders or whatever you guys called them, would they actually read the Bible like story by story, line by line, or was it always just like jump from here to there?
Oh, it was jumps, man. It was jumps. We was jumping through so many scriptures, man, like all the time. It was jumping.
I think that's the main, like, because I read, you know what I mean? I've read 48 Laws of Power. I've read, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Wow. I'm thinking about reading so like when I try to read the Bible, I'm reading it from Genesis all the way down. You know what I mean? So me not understanding what goes on in these camps, I'm thinking that's how you guys are reading it. But from what you're telling me, you're not. Like, and it's to me, that's no different from when, because I've been to, church on Easter as a young bull, and, they've always just jumped through it. So it's like you're doing the same thing that these other groups are doing, but yet you somehow have a better understanding of this book. But, you're not, like, I just don't understand how you can get a full understanding of something if you're skipping through it, opposed to reading it straight through. Like, I mean, I understand there's certain bullet points and stuff that you want to pick out, but you know, maybe that's why it's so hard for me to read the Bible, because I'm trying to read it as an actual, like a regular book, and you know, it's kind of ineligible. I mean, it's hard to read, man. Like just the grammar, everything in it.
They use, well, on the Sabbath day we would read the stories all the way through.
Okay.
So the Sabbath days we had like it was a service set up. It was different from the regular Friday night and Thursday night classes, which it was just kind of like more of, it wasn't a service, it was more of a classroom style, and then there would be question and answers at the end, and then the collection, of course, the money collection, that was a very important part of the service. But on Saturdays we get there early, and we would pick up from where we left off the week before, and we would read stories all the way through. So we did do that, and then we would read, but we really didn't have a good understanding of things. You know, we didn't have a good understanding of anything. I mean, there was just so many scriptures like that we were so used to constantly going back to, that once we did start doing the Saturday classes where we would read all the way through, it really exposed a lot of the ignorance that that we had outside of where I guess the headquarters is at, where I think that what Tazadaki would do was look up, Google stuff. I think that, this is what he would do. He'd be hiding in the background. Remember, he would hide and come out later?
Yeah.
He would probably be Googling stuff, but we weren't doing that like on the spot like that, on the fly, on the podium. We would just be like, all right, well, we would just read it. If we didn't understand it, we didn't really explain it. But I'm sure there was a lot of misinterpretations. I mean, I know there was definitely, but yeah, but the going from one line to another, that's a scripture in Isaiah 28, I believe. Isaiah chapter 28, where it says, here a little and there a little. And I forget exactly how it's worded, but they use that scripture pretty much to tell you that this is how the Bible tells you how you should read the Bible. The Bible tells you how to read the Bible. They still remember we used to say that, Terry? The Bible tells you how to read the Bible. And we go to Isaiah 8, and it says, here a little and there a little.
Precept upon precept.
Yeah, precept upon precept. Right, there you go. And then they say that a precept is, I think it means that it's a law. But I don't think that that's what it's taught. The way that they read the Bible, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what scriptures tell you that you should be doing, because they'll literally just read one part of a scripture, like in Revelation chapter 1, where it says that Jesus Christ's hair was white like wool. And then, they'll go to like Daniel. There'll be other stories that are similar to that you could bring together. But a lot of times, there's situations where they just find a word in one scripture that matches with another word in another scripture. It could mean the same thing. It could be the same word or be a synonym, right?
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh yeah, here's two scriptures that connect, just because they talk about a word or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that Gorilla Hebrew did that. If you know who Gorilla Hebrew is, he's a Hebrew Israelite from the Sakari camp. He did that on a scripture where the Lord held the waters, and he said that, you see, well, it says it here, but if you go to Mark chapter 7, he says he held the waters still. So if it happened here this way, it had to happen here that way. So that's a way of them jumping from one point, distracting you, and going to another scripture and trying to make their point by going to another scripture.
To help amplify what they're saying.
Yeah, and it's a distraction from the original point. It's always a distraction from the original point. And what that does is just confuse you. That's all it does. And it takes your attention away.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of tricks like that. And I learned that, like, just being in the mind control, I just picked up on that, and I became a self, reliant. I mean, like, I didn't need to, after a while, I didn't need to, be convinced. I was like, I'm ready to go and convince other people, and I think that was like somewhere in my first year, you know, like Terry, like I saw you in your first year, you were sharp. You came in, a lot of people come in ready to go. And then because they don't tell you everything up front, they don't tell you about the 20% tithes up front.
The priest fund.
Yeah, they're not going to be out there on the podium or in the streets telling people that they got to pay 20% of their income as the first impression to the cult.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They don't say that a man can have more than one wife. So it's a lot of deceptive recruiting going on that even I did, because I knew what somebody, you know, what's going to be controversial. I knew that. So I knew what to stay away from, you know, and I did that just because, you know, like not even thinking, like, why am I doing this? You know, I shouldn't, if this is the truth, why am I scared to speak about certain things, you know? But yeah. I was scared and I was embarrassed. So, yeah. And I'm sure that your friend is probably embarrassed to say a lot of things that they do teach in there, you know, and they don't talk about, they don't like bringing up Joy Morgan. That's another, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of Joy Morgan, brought it up to him. I'm not going to say. I was going to ask, like, did you guys go over, like, the authors of the certain stories and how, you know, certain stories were written years, centuries after? Like, they didn't talk about the author, the difference in the authors.
They didn't teach us that. Well, what they did say was that the Bible is a compilation of books, and that before it was compiled together, they were all separate books, you know, which is true. And there's a scripture that proves that. Well, you know, I mean, there's history that proves that. But
I think it's crazy because when you look into the Council of Nicaea and how they actually came up with the compilation of the Bible, it's crazy. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not too familiar with the Council of Nicaea, actually. I know of it, but I mean, I know that from what I've read, man, I forget who's Arius, right? Was it, did they set up the Council of Nicaea because of the Arians?
That was with Constantine, right? It was like a pagan belief that was out there that he wanted to kind of commingle with the Christian belief, right?
It was the belief that Jesus Christ was God or something like that. It had the divinity of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and they actually, the way that they actually came up with the actual compilation of the Bible is they put all these books they put all the books on like a table in a room and just shut the door, and whatever books that remained on the table, that's what they chose to actually use as the compilation of the Bible. It's crazy. Like,
I heard that. Wow.
Yeah, like I forget. I can actually send you a link on it later after we get off of this, but It was, when I found out about it, I was like, you know, that's, you know, how do we know nobody went in here and, you know, pushed these books to the side? Like, no, we have no real basis of understanding of who picked these books here, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I just thought, you know, I was just curious about how, you know,
well, everybody's name that's on the book is the author. We believe that, you know, like the actual author. There was no understanding. There was nothing of like added scriptures. How in Mark chapter 13, there's, you know, in history, it shows that there was added scriptures to the end of Mark chapter 13. That's even Bible scholars, Christians will tell you that, yeah, there's an issue with Mark chapter 13. And that's some of the craziest scriptures that tell you about how people are going to handle snakes and still live. Venomous, you know, this is not just like regular scriptures. These are problematic scriptures that could possibly lead people to death and stuff. So it's like, but then how did this make its way into what people claim to be a holy book? It was a lot of things like that I started finding. And Terry, I never really, I mean, what's your idea of the Bible? Like, I think we did speak a little bit about, you know, how there are good things in the Bible. I think we spoke about that. What's your idea of the Bible? Because I know that, okay, you don't consider yourself a Hebrew Israelite anymore, right? Okay. Right. Well, what do you believe in? If you could, you know.
So I like reading like Ecclesiasticus. I like reading that. You know, it's got like a lot of wise sayings in there. You know, Proverbs. Proverbs is another good one.
Right.
Also, the Wisdom of Solomon. Like anything that Solomon pretty much wrote is like kind of what I like read. You know, it's like a lot of common sense and wise sayings in that. So I don't believe in like any type of religion. You know what I'm saying? Like I believe that I believe that there's a power. I can't articulate what it is. Right. Like I don't believe in any kind of religion. I'm just like there, but there's got to be something out there. So, you know, that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
Got you. Yeah. Like kind of like when I spoke with Alex, a lot of people get to that point where they're like, you know, I don't know. And I'm not going to lie to myself anymore. And I think we all need to be honest. And that's good. I like that because there's people that try to make it seem like it's so obvious, you know, that obviously there is a God. And I don't think it's that obvious. You know, I mean, I understand why people come to the conclusion that there has to be a creator or a higher power that set everything off, because that's just how we like to think of things. Everything should have a beginning.
Yeah.
But the more research I do on cosmology, and I don't know a lot. I barely know anything. But from what I understand, there might not have been a beginning ever.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, there's I mean, I was at that point. I remember being there where I was like, you know, I'm not gonna lie to myself. I don't know. I can't prove this stuff, and the Bible is definitely not reliable. So I just wanted to know where you stand with that, just, you know, but I wanted to also talk about this situation. Did you guys hear about this? Somebody committed suicide in the ICGJC recently, right? I sent you guys the article. So,
Yeah.
you know, and I read through it. I was actually told that this member had committed suicide by Kazaki Nathanya. Kazaki Nathanya, St. Ivan, was the reader for Tazadakia. He was really close to Tazadakia. And this guy has so many stories. His channel is called Be Thou Free Israel, just to shout him out. If people want to, check that channel out, you know, it's basically what they do is basically give you their personal testimonies, their personal accounts, working side by side with the maniac known as Jermaine Grant, who we knew, you know, like we knew from afar, kind of like we didn't really get to know him like these guys knew him, and they'll straight up, they knew all the ins and outs. But this story, now I wanted to just to touch on this because this is on topic with the mind control. This brother, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but just in case anybody might know, you know, might be wondering and might know who this was that might have been in the New York camp. His name was Rabah Tazadad Yawath. It's a little difficult to say, but Rabah Tazadad Yawath. And there's a story, there's an article online. And it was really hard to get through. It was kind of like, man, just reading about what the father had to see, right? Because the father wanted to see and make sure that the cult didn't play a part, because there's a lot of, you know, it's just a lot of mystery with the cult. You know, and this is not the first time that somebody has died inside the cult as a member,
right?
And committed suicide, you know, allegedly. Well, this one is confirmed. There was a few others that are alleged suicide. One of them was very mysterious, where someone hung himself. You know, Shabar.
Who?
Shabar was the one that was sitting at the top of the stairs when they did the BBC interview with Louis Theroux.
Oh yeah.
This was back in 2003.
Yeah, he was talking to him about the picture and all that stuff, right?
Yep. And Shabar was also on the what was the show that they went on? They went on the
Jerry Springer.
Yeah. Shabar was there at the Jerry Springer show. You know, he's like 6'5", tall, you know, dark, like kingly looking man, like a, you know. And yeah, they broke his spirit, man. They completely broke his spirit. He was high. He had higher rank than Tazadakia for a while there.
Wow.
And then when Tazadakia had to come in and become the comforter, everybody else that stood in the way had to be, you know, destroyed, and they had to destroy the spirit.
Yeah.
And man, that guy is just one of them. But you know, this recent story, I had heard about it, and I was like, well, you know, I don't have the details about it, and I don't know who the guy was, and it was just something that was just told. And I was like, okay, so I'm doing a live, and somebody came on my live who's allegedly a family member of this person, saying that this person, just like the news report says, that the person kept saying that they did something wrong, you know, that they did something unforgivable. And that is part of the ICGJC doctrine. Part of the doctrines is that you can do certain things, certain sins that you will never be forgiven for, which they'll use a scripture that says is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Is that one sin is in the scripture. It says it's to when you blaspheme the Holy Spirit. Now, what does that mean though, right? And how can you interpret that in the cult? Well, the way that they interpret that in the cult is by going against Tazadakia, who supposedly has the Holy Spirit, or I don't know what the hell they're teaching anymore. And on top of that, not only that, but the cult itself, they consider, if you go against the cult, that's like a spiritual fornication, they used to say.
Yeah, going against the doctrine, the whole doctrine, the denying the breakdown of the so-called comforter, like going against that.
Right. Know? So that was another thing that they did, because there's no actual law, you know, that says that about leaving a cult or a group or being in a building or anything like that. They use the law of fornication, which is if a woman commits fornication, then, you know, the husband can divorce. Now the husband is allowed to divorce that woman. So that was the excuse they used to say, well, you're allowed to be put out and be divorced from the cult because you committed a spiritual fornication now. That's how they trick you. It's like, what? That's not a law. You know, so, but they created that, and also to say that you can leave your wife or your husband if they don't believe, if they just don't believe in Tazadakia, they could still believe that they're an Israelite. They could still believe that they're from the specific tribe that they say that they're from in the 12 tribe sign. But if you still don't accept Tazadakia, you're still not in the spirit and you're fornicating, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like part of. That's the control. That's like the heavy control that they have over you right there, where you start feeling like, damn, like I have no choice. Like
that was a new one though, because we used to always go by the one in Corinthians where it said the unbelieving is sanctified by the whoever, right? Because we always went by that. So yeah. I guess, you know, with this whole new rule coming out about not believing in the so-called comforter, like not believing in that stuff, like right. You can divorce your spouse, like I never heard about that, man. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That was a new thing that was brought out once people started, once the news started spreading about Tazadakia.
Yeah.
There were brothers that would bring up things to their wives, or wives that would bring up these issues to their husbands and be like, you know, I have an issue with this, and they'll be literally like honest about their belief. And it's like, I don't, you know, they probably, like Atazara is one of them. You remember Atazara?
Yeah.
Arrived the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, I don't believe anymore or whatever. So when she left, they told Arrived the bar, like, oh yeah, you could divorce her because she don't believe anymore. They never used to do that before. They used to say, no, you got to stick by the law of God.
Right.
You know, you married, no man shall, you know, put asunder what God has put together.
Yeah.
What they say. So, you know, just because you don't believe in Tazadakia, oh, well, now that's okay now. Because
right.
That was a threat. That was going to be a threat to the membership now. Once you start, and especially when it's a husband or a wife, it's like that person lives with you, so you're going to be constantly dealing with that. You might get seduced, as they say, you know, seduced out, but really you were seduced in. So
yeah,
you know, but once that effect starts wearing off and you start realizing, like, man, I was completely confused. Yeah, you want to start pulling people out, and they already have, you know, rules set up, and the tattling and the spying system set up just in case you try, you know, any dissent, any little sign of dissent, you know, you get reported. Oh, this brother, he's dropping the ball. That's what they were saying about Ride the Bar, Terry. You know, because I was getting all the counsels after a while. Like, you know, while I was out, I was seeing counsels.
yeah,
And sent like these private emails by there was a spy pretty much sending me these emails. I wish I could still get that. I can't get it anymore. But man, Ride the Bar was constantly dropping the ball, and it seemed like the brother's not believing anymore. But he's still in there. He keeps himself in there. It's like and then he's getting cut like every month. Like he keeps dropping the ball. He's always late. He's making excuses. And you know, once you start always coming late and making excuses, that's when the mind control might be wearing off. But
man,
there's something about that fear that the fear paralyzes you, and that unreasonable fear can cause paranoia also. And you know, I think that there's a lot of unreasonable fear in there, and people are just like, for no reason. At this point, it's like, you know, what are you scared about? I mean, Tazadaki is dead after he said that, you know, nothing's going to happen to them. You know, so many disconfirmed beliefs and disconfirmed prophecies.
Yeah.
Yeah, disconfirmed expectancy. That's another psychological thing.
Yeah.
That has to be wearing on them.
Like, you know? Who was that? He talked about, you know, Mayaka Allah coming back. You remember that?
Yeah.
Talked about that.
Yeah, there was pretty much, I mean, that's just one failed prophecy. There's tons of failed prophecies, but
yeah,
this has got to be now at this point, like getting to these people, like where, like we were expecting to be in Israel. They were expecting to be, I mean, what they were expecting is just not what they're getting right now, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it has to be tearing at their faith, you know, but that's just the ICGJC. You know, when it's dealing with the IUIC, they're not dealing with all these issues like the ICGJC, with all the, you know, the legal issues and all of that. So,
yeah.
Oh, your friend Jimmy might I don't know, man. It might take a long time for him to, you know, snap out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, I mean, it's not. I think there's a point where people get to, you know, you're either going to believe it and disregard all the information you see that's in the contrary to what you believe, or there's gonna be a point where, you know, he might just become, you know, just fed up with the BS. Because I mean, just looking from the outside in, I know that there's, you know, even just things that I bring up, you know what I mean, as somebody from the outside, that I know for a fact, because I called, you know, his leaders at his camp and asked them the same questions. They don't have the answers. You know, when I start asking certain questions, they start saying, "Oh, well, like, let me guess, you believe in science." I'm like, "Well, I don't." It's not a matter of believing in science. It's, you know, it's what we use science every day. I mean, we're talking because of science. You're in DC. I'm in Pennsylvania. We're talking because of science. So it's not a matter of believing in science. It's a matter of we're using what apparently works. You know. Yeah. So I think that's one of the major things. And, you know, being, you know, it's not that I'm trying to pull him out. I'm just trying to, one, better understand what he believes, and two, possibly present a better perception of reality. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when you believe that, me personally, I feel like you shortchange you're selling yourself short of what you could possibly accomplish, because you're basically presenting your whole worldview based off of something that doesn't align with reality. So it's not so much me trying to pull him out. It's me trying to understand and trying to maybe help him understand where, he's being unreasonable with what he believes. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
because again, I'm not here to convince somebody. I'm not here to convince anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, most of the time they're trying to convince me. And I'm just like, I just don't see it the way you see it. I just, for every explanation you can give me for God, I can give you an equally valid explanation for nature. And the same things that I can't answer with nature or science, you can't answer with God. Just because you sit here and say God is the reason, you effectively don't answer anything because you're not giving me any explanatory power. An explanation that encompasses all explains nothing. So that's kind of the point of which I try to make to him.
yeah,
But it's mostly left on, dead, deaf ears. But I'll still, as a friend, I feel as if I should at least present an alternative way of thinking. You know what I mean? Because he had it at one point, but something, I don't know what he went through during that time period I wasn't at work, or or what happened. I don't know what he went through. Maybe it was just I don't know. Maybe he just felt as if he needed, to be part of something. Me personally, I value the individual mind over the group. So I'll always stand against what the group is saying, just because people say, oh, it's common sense. A lot of people don't have common sense, and common sense usually isn't the best way of going about, dealing with life. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
right,
Um, because a group of people can be very dumb. It takes sometimes it takes that individual to come and poke holes at what the group is saying to really, shed light, because you got a bunch of people thinking the same way, and they're all confirming their own beliefs with each other, and you got nobody else from the outside of that circle,
right.
bringing an alternative perspective.
Yeah, yeah. There's a brother that's on right now that I actually had a conversation like an hour long when we were talking about is there the video was called "Is There a God?" And like you're saying, it's already like an assumption, right? And he was saying that that there are certain flowers or something that play music or something like that, or that sing, or I forgot what he was saying, but because he sees that there's an intelligence, he assumes that there's a designer, because there's intelligence. So he's like, that's intelligence design. And it's like, but you're just assuming, you're not giving, there's no explanatory power there. You're just saying that, well, I see something here that's intelligent, so there must be an intelligent designer. But if you use that logic, isn't your God intelligent? So how come your God doesn't require an intelligent designer also? So it's just the logic is not consistent with a lot of the believers and the mind state that they bring. See, like some people might leave the cult, like this brother right here, he left the cult, but he's still in the cult mind state. Like he's still pretty much, the reason why he came in the cult, he never changed. He never was able to adapt and pretty much realize the error of his faults. And he thinks it was just an incorrect doctrine, but he's still dealing with all the craziness of the scriptures. And it's like, you never really escape the cult when you do that. I can talk about the cult, and help people out and bring in an inside perspective. And there's still people. I mean, we're talking about a brother that just committed suicide. So, I mean, I can't just forget the church. That's like somebody that was like hurt and wants to forget it. Now, if you're hurt and you want to forget it, that's probably not the best way to deal with it. It's the best way to deal with these things, from what I found, is to talk about it honestly, talk about how we felt, remember how we felt, and go back and rewind and just kind of go back to what were the errors that we did. Where did we mess up at? And where I remember where I messed up at was just assuming that everything in the Bible was true, pretty much. So the same thing is done with people that leave the cult when they assume that the Bible is true. It doesn't matter if you leave, the cult or the belief or the doctrine. Your worldview is what brought you in there first. The belief that that the world is evil, right? And that everybody is out here to get you, pretty much. The white man's out here to get you. And there's no trust. There's just a distrust for anything at all, really. And it's like they find this ultimate truth in the scriptures or whatever, this comfort that you can't find in the world because the world is scary, and then you gotta be diligent and you gotta be intelligent and use your mind. But what the Bible does is kind of package everything for you so nicely where you don't have to think, and it just answers all these different things for you. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick because it's like, this cat's on some other crap right now. Yeah.
Just from the outside looking in, man, I can see how much division this causes in the Black community. It's no different from, the Nation of Islam, or the 5%ers. Like, honestly, I think the 5%ers got the best claim to God there is. You know what I mean? God is the universe. You are God. Like, to me, that's the best claim because there's no spookiness involved. You know what I mean? There's no, you might be conflating some certain things, the God and universe and energy and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, we're not dealing with some spooky character that's in the sky pulling the puppet masters behind us. If, at least in the 5%er perspective, you're the master of your of your reality at that point. You know what I mean? You're basically being put into a mindset that you are able to control your thoughts and what's going on, to manifest your reality. Now, with that being said, to segue back into this the article, like, to me, I think, I don't know if it was a suicide or, I'm not going to say somebody, drove him to kill himself, but I think when you're involved with a group like that and your whole world is revolved around a belief in a higher power, and then those people that you were in the group with, disavow you or tell you you're going to do this, that, and the third, he probably slipped into some sort of depression. I mean, that's what it seemed like, just reading the article when he was talking to his father. And as a father of two boys, like, it's a tearjerker to me because it's like, damn, I got two sons. In my head, I'm gonna do everything, just like my father taught me, showed me, don't follow the group. You know what I mean? Synthesize your own opinions and your own thoughts and your own creed. So that way, at least, it may not be right, but at least you can't sit here and say that I followed this other person into thinking this way. I've come, it's easier for you to change and adapt your thought process based off of new information when it's just you. I think it's harder to do when it's harder to do when you're involved with a group. And I think that's what happened with the young brother, man. I just think it's crazy. It's crazy, man, because I think mental health is a serious. I think a lot. I'm not going to make the claim and say that most people that are in a religious group have some form of mental health issues. I'm not going to say that, but I think it's common. I think it's common because I think you're dealing with a person who might not necessarily have the self-esteem to, or just the mental fortitude to really, step out on their own and, formulate their own opinions or move on an individual, in an individual's mindset. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, for me personally, and as long as I can remember, is I've always been the person to, try to not rely on my own merits, but at least use my mind, exercise my mind to at least try to understand things better, or try to make sense and find my own way, to get through my own personal problems. Because I'm not going to say that I don't get depressed. I don't personally understand depression, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But that's just me. And I think a lot of people, they get so wrapped up in what they believe, and when something happens, or a group that you I guess believe the same things, and they oust you, or you do something that's not, in their favor, it probably hits people hard. Some people who don't have the same mental fortitude as me. You know what I mean? Because me personally, if I was that person, I'd just be like,
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? You don't know no more than I do, so whatever. But
start teaching people that this is the place. These are the gates to heaven. Pretty much is the doctrine. This is the place. This is the entry, the doorway to heaven. There's a scripture that says Jesus Christ is the door. Jesus Christ is the way. They used to always take that scripture as if, you see, this is the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. So this is how you get to God. You have to get through these doors because we are the only ones that are in Christ. So yeah, there's a lot of fear and just separation from the world and just making the world look as scary and unattractive and unsure and uncertain as possible and evil as possible. So that way you can look at that and say, okay, well, this is a better alternative here in the church. These are some nice people, because you're going to come across nice people. The brother was a great person. The one who committed suicide. I actually broke the news just before we went live to the guy was a former bishop, by the way. Now there was another former bishop that knew him really well, and he was just couldn't believe. He didn't know about the article. He didn't hear the news. He's actually not even in contact. Like, I'm a person that tries to stay kind of at least in the know. I want to know what's going on with the cult, because there's always going to be issues like this. There's always going to be stories like this. As long as, religious cults are out here, there's always going to be people that are being, controlled and depressed. So, like, for the brother that's like, yo, why don't we just get over this, move on? How do we move on? Well, this is part of moving on and helping people move forward. This is not me just I'm hurt and I just hate the cult. This is me being a person that recognizes that I understand why I was in the cult. I understand the mind control. So I can reach out, and maybe if they don't want to speak to me directly, which they never want to speak to former members directly, they'll maybe hear me indirectly through this channel. Or maybe the families of these members want to know what's going on. They want to understand. They don't have any clue. You, Jimmy, from the outside, you didn't know what was going on with, like, this guy is completely changed, right? His whole character. And it's like you get hijacked. It's like your body gets hijacked. And you really, you're in control of what you're doing, but it's like you're kind of not. Because the fear really controls you, the fear in there. So I understand I understand the depression. I was depressed afterwards, after getting put out, because I thought I should have been in there. So I was still a believer, and I wanted to come back, and I tried to come back, actually. And I was really down that they took my rank away. Terry, when they took your rank away, you looked like you were really down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that's something that is like, I think I remember Tazadakia saying that your rank is important. Like, it actually matters to God or something like that.
Yeah, he said some madness like the higher that you are in rank, the closer you are to Christ, or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. So he created that system where he can reward people and punish people using, the ranking system, because the rank was supposed to be like something like a privilege, like a great privilege and an honor, really. Like, to tell you the truth, when I got my captain rank, I was tearing. I was tearing because I thought that's how much of a believer I was. And there were a lot of brothers. There's videos of this where what would they do? They would put the rank. I forgot what they were doing with these.
Oh man, the intros to the DVDs.
Yeah, and
I remember that.
It wasn't just me. There was a lot of people that they would literally be crying because they felt like they achieved like such a great accomplishment in life.
Yeah.
Because it's like in our head, it was like, man, out of all the places in the world and all the people, God chose me. It was like that, and it's like, I'm here in this special location. And I remember the little crappy building that we had off of Colonial by downtown Orlando.
Yep.
And this was like downtown Orlando is just a crap. I mean, it looks a little better now, but I mean, this was back in 2005, 2006. And, you know, I remember thinking like, man, if people only knew that the way to God is in this little crappy building right here, you know, like people don't even know how, you know, they're just driving by. I would think that like people just drive by and they don't realize like we're the ones right here. We're the ones that connected to God, you know? And I really believed it, man. Like I really did. So to find out that this place was a scam, it was very heartbreaking and disappointing for me. So I was depressed, you know, not only after getting my rank taken away and you know, being out of the cult. Now when I find out outside of the cult that the whole thing was a scam, it was just like I was angry. Like I was really angry, and you could probably see it in some of my first videos. I was really angry.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like every video you put out, I felt it. I was like, yeah, that's that anger. Let it out.
I was like, I used this channel as a form of therapy, I think. You know, because I wasn't completely good. I wasn't good in 2017 when March 1st, when I put out that great video. I had all types of issues still. I had doubts too. I was scared. I was still scared.
Yeah.
In a way, you know, because now I'm putting myself out there, and now it's like, man, you know, I can't. There's no turning back from here. So yeah, it was like now I'm officially a rebel, you know. So, but it took a lot of self help books, you know, and yeah, you know, I read 48, like you said, the 48 Laws of Power. I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read How to Win, you know, everything you mentioned. I actually read it. I have it on Audible.
Yep, same.
Yeah, and then I started getting into Christopher Hitchens and David Hume, and philosophy and you know, epistemology and reasons, and having good reasons, and really debating and watching debates and seeing like good responses and good rebuttals, and how people have bad rebuttals, and how I used to use those same rebuttals, and I'm watching Christians use the same type of rebuttals that Israelites would use, similar rebuttals, you know, of course, because, you know, they believe in the same book. But yeah, it was just after a while I was like, okay, this is I'm not the first guy that this happened to. Malcolm X was deceived also. You know, I started comparing you know, not that I can compare myself to Malcolm X, but yeah, I started seeing like, okay, you know, this happens to people. You know, you get caught up in a cult and you get deceived, and the best thing that you could do is just not let it destroy you, where you're going to be a hateful person or you're going to be depressed or anything like that. It was just, you know, I wanted to move on, and I felt making this channel and making videos about critical thinking, logical fallacies, was probably the best way for me and anybody else that's trying to do the same thing that I'm doing. So it wasn't so much as just myself. Definitely, I wanted to help myself, and I didn't know what I was doing at first. But as I was going, I started realizing that, okay, this is kind of helping me out, because in the process of making sure I get the best quality of content out there, I'm doing research and making sure that everything is on point, and making sure that this is going to help you people. And it was helping me out in the meantime. So yeah, you know, Mary Bennett said she found my channel in 2017, which is when I started. This has been going on for now 4 years on March 1st. So I didn't have like where it's at now. I didn't know what, you know, I just kept going with it and seeing, you know, going with the flow, and I didn't know where I was going to end up at. I didn't know where that Tazadaki was going to end up dead. So, you know, it's just like, I just knew it had to be broadcasted somehow, because the story was just amazing from the beginning. Just before it got to what it got to, I knew that this was going to turn out to be something, and that it was going to get a lot of people's attention. So, I mean, now you can go back, you know, and I hope this helps people out. And, you know, I mean, what do you think? Besides I'm talking to Terry. Besides the logical fallacies, because they're not going to listen to that in the cult. The van that was found, and I mean, just the arrest and all the news and the bad media behind them. Wouldn't you think that would be enough to make people like start coming out by the hundreds? And it's not happening.
It should be, man. It should be. And you know, to the people that I know in there that are still in there, look, like I have no qualms against nobody in there, no qualms against y'all at all.
Yeah.
You know, I still consider you as a friend. So, you know, there's no beef between me and nobody in there, right? But I look at it as, you know, like looking at the van and looking at all these other things that came out. I'm glad that I knew about all this stuff while I was out, because if I was in there, I wouldn't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like it's better to know that these things happen while you're out of that. You know, it's better, because mentally, if you're in there, you have to find something to build your confidence back up, to invest your beliefs in something that you know that could potentially just crumble one day. You know, it's better to look at all the stuff that happened outside of that. You know what I mean? So, you know, when I left, there was no suspicions of ill doings, you know, all throughout the church. It was nothing like that when I left. Like I knew nothing of that. I was totally oblivious to all of that stuff. Right. And then slowly but surely, like little things just started to come out, and I was like, damn, like this might be like real, you know. And then like after the whole proof, I'm like, man, I'm glad I left, you know.
Right. So, yeah, it was kind of like, oh man, like, you know, I had that right. It was like that gut feeling.
Yeah.
I have a gut feeling in there. I had that gut feeling from the beginning, but I ignored it.
Right.
Yeah, because it was like my cousin was teaching me, and I was like, okay, maybe it's something I don't know. I don't know the Bible. So it's like a lot of insecurity too. Like that's who come in. It's people that are uneducated, that don't know how to defend themselves, and also non-confrontational people. Like I see that in you a lot, Terry. We're non-confrontational.
Right.
We don't like, you know, we cool. We just lay back, nonchalant. We kind of go along with stuff, right? And we chill. We have a chill vibe about us.
Yeah.
That's the type of people that fall in, you know. Yeah. And then you add on top of that, you add, you know, pro-black, which is just hits a certain spot with people like us, right? Yeah. You know, you want to be for your people. You see the injustices in a lot of different avenues. Like it's there. But what they do is just they make a big deal out of it. They make it as if it's like, you know, the 1960s or something, you know, and they're in captivity. They literally talk about like, this is a captivity. Let my people go. You know, it's like nobody's holding you back. You can leave this country. But in their mind, they think like, no, this is Egypt 2.0 to them. You know, it's like things get repeated, and it's like, a way of this is a psychological thing too. It's like repeating things that happened already. You know, that was a constant theme of how things are going to repeat themselves that happened already in the past. Yeah. And then we're fulfilling that, and that's supposed to be a way of putting you in the Bible, in like living in the time of the Bible. Like we're fulfilling prophecy, and we're reading it and we're doing it, and it's like. That's what I would see. Or that's what I thought that I was seeing, you know, that we were living actual prophecy. I can like almost see myself in the Bible, you know. It was like that, almost like very vivid, and my imagination is very like vivid. So like I would just like, you know, like picture things and try to make it make sense. And I saw a lot of things that did make sense, and the things that were conflicts I would avoid, though, you know. But that's called selective thinking, right? That's part of the mind control. You do that so much, you put away the things that might go against and might be a conflict with your belief. You're just kind of like, well, I'm going to forget about that. That's not good, man. That's not good for your memory, for your attention span. There's so many neurological issues that could like that do happen to people in there, and And this suicide is actually one of those things. Committing suicide, a person that commits suicide is not in their right mind, and you have to go through like a certain state of psychosis where things are just not real. Like you're not living in reality. I mean, to make you think that you have no reason to live. I mean, it's a crazy situation that it's ongoing. It doesn't seem like it's getting any better. You know, my cousin is one that she's very fragile. My cousin, she's very fragile, and there are a lot of people in there like that. They can't take this constant abuse and constant, cognitive dissonance.
Right.
Constant cognitive dissonance has to play a major part on their mind state. So it's horrible, man. It's good to have all these conversations though, and to have like Terry, you bounce back, bro. Like this place didn't destroy you. You're a great example of a survivor. We're survivors, This is what this channel is for, is to help people survive this. It's hard. It's not easy for people to just make it seem like this is just nothing. Like, that might be a good way for you to, get over it and to think like, oh, it wasn't that bad. We weren't told to drink the Kool-Aid literally, but I don't want to also make it seem like it wasn't anything, because it is bad. Look what happened. Look what could happen. Yeah, we got away, and we were able to fight that off and grow, and look where we are now. We're able to talk about it and laugh.
Yeah.
And man, it's just not the same for everybody. So listening to you guys, I mean, that's why I wanted to have you guys on, because it's going to help people see it from the outside point of view, the inside point of view, and just get a good understanding. And I could talk about this stuff forever, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, was there anything? What was the first thing that you noticed about your friend? You might have covered this already, but what was the first thing you noticed that was problematic with his belief?
The biggest thing was that he was claiming to be Hebrew Israelite, a black Hebrew Israelite. When they telling me I was one too, but I know for a fact, he was don't get me right, he's Dominican. He was Dominican, but he was light-skinned Dominican. He was same complexion as me. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, me and you we're racially ambiguous, man. Like you can't really tell what we are.
Right.
And we could be. You know how many people come up to me and speak Spanish to me? You know what I mean? Like on a daily basis. My fiance, she's Dominican, and she literally thought I was Puerto Rican when we first met. So to me, the biggest thing is he was claiming to be something that he only had a book to prove. And I'm like, well, do you have like DNA evidence and all this other stuff? He didn't have any of that. So I'm like, well, how do you know this? Oh, well, the Bible says it. I'm like, well, you can't say that to me because I don't believe in the Bible. You know what I mean? Like, so, that's not going to convince me, So that was one of the major things. And then just his disdain towards white people after that. You know what I mean? I get it. I can't, I've researched Tulsa, Oklahoma, all the the bombing of Philadelphia. I've researched all that stuff,
Right.
but what I feel is and what they're not telling him is that, white folks have destroyed Black Wall Street and all that. But, you can do a quick Google search and see the top 10 most prosperous Black communities right now.
Right.
And most of them are primarily in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a big one in Atlanta.
Atlanta, Maryland, New York, like they're all over. So, my biggest thing is like, okay, I understand, you're mad about history. I understand that. I was mad about history at one time too. I actually almost ruined our trip to Dominican Republic when we went for a couple years ago because I was still on that same, screw Whitey.
Yeah.
And in DR, they have a whole monument to Christopher Columbus and it's crazy. We went there and they have like a whole monument and area. It's called I think the historical zone. that's literally like almost dedicated to him. And I'm sitting here telling, I don't know if you guys saw my daughter earlier. My daughter's darker than me. You know what I mean? So my fiance, she's dark, and I'm sitting there telling them, I'm sitting telling them, like, this is crazy. In DR, there's a lot of colorism that goes on because I was there, and I got people, darker than my man Terry telling me that they're not black. And I'm like, bro, like this, the fuck are you talking?
Yeah.
What are you saying? Those are Haitians. We're not the same. Like, bro, you're darker than me. If you come to the U.S., you be considered, for lack of a better word, a nigga. Like that's what you be considered. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
It's different. So I get it. I get the frustration and that, but at the same time, I have, I got Irish on my mother's side and German on my dad's side. So it's like, how can I be mad? Like I said earlier, how can I be mad at a whole group of people for the actions of, a few when I have that same blood in me? And it's looking at him at the same way. I'm like, bro, like you can't have this much hate, even though a year earlier when I was telling you all this stuff, you were looking at me like I was crazy. So now just because you got some book, because the Bible is supposedly prophesized all this stuff, you believe it. There's some disconnect there. At least in my eyes, there's a disconnect there, and I just realized, like, this is genuinely making you a harder person to be friends with, because now you're looking at me different, as if I'm the enemy here. And at the end of the day, all I ever want, like I said, I just want everybody around me to prosper. You know what I mean? That's at the end of the day. I don't care what color you are. We're sitting here trying to, race to me is such a minor detail of what a person has to do. On the moral character of a person. It has nothing to do with it. At the same time, I even shared this story with him. It was like, oh, you just wanna be comfortable with master and that. I'm like, yo, listen, bro. I know black people who are despicable. I know white people that are despicable, bro. Like your color has nothing to do with it. The color of your skin has nothing to do with the type of person you are. It's all based off of what you were brought up believing. At the end of the day. So
also that doctrine that that they have is that we're the oppressed.
yeah.
It's just we're the oppressed, and the oppressors are up at the top, and the oppressors are represented by the white man. And I don't know, like with me, I was listening to a lot of Talib Kweli, Mos Def, and Dead Prez, right?
Yeah.
Terry, we listened to Dead Prez too. We used to listen to that.
Yeah.
We used to rock out to Dead Prez. You remember the song? See, this is not just in the Black Hebrew Israelite community. It's already an element of it's already there in the Black community, and then it gets played. It gets used as white people are evil as hell. We got to stick together, and that's how they get you. They trap you in by saying, this isn't. They create an enemy, and then they say, no, now we got to stick together to fight the enemy. So there's like music like with Dead Prez. They'll talk like they'll straight up say, how's the lyrics go? I'm down for running up on them crackers in the city hall. That was literally one of their lyrics. They say, who shot Biggie Smalls? If we don't get him, they're gonna get us all. I'm down for running up on them crackers in the city hall.
Yeah.
So I was already listening to that, and I was getting kind of put in a certain, mind state where, I'm the minority, I'm the oppressed, and then there's the oppressor. So that's already there. That's in Harlem. That's taught in the NOI. That's taught. I mean, it's part of like being a Black person. Is that you have to kind of agree with this. Otherwise, if you don't, you might be an Uncle Tom or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's an element of that with the ICGJC, and that's what he's calling you. He's trying to call you like, oh, you want to be with Master.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this with BLM. They do the same thing.
Yeah,
they do the same. I don't know how you feel about BLM, but I've been talking about them a lot lately because I see a lot of not a lot, but some of the things that are in the Hebrew Israelite community. I'll say there's a lot of things a lot of similarities. But what do you think?
As far as Black Lives Matter, I'm not 100% sure, but I do think I don't trust them. You know what I mean? Like me personally, I have an issue with I wouldn't say leadership, but I do have an issue with somebody trying to tell me how to think. You know, that's my main thing. Like you're not gonna sit here and try to tell me on what my opinion should be about something. At the end of the day, I'm gonna look at the facts and see, and draw my own conclusions. And I think a lot with Black Lives Matter, yes, I've been beat up by the cops. You know what I mean? Like throughout my whole, as a teenager, even in my early adulthood, I've never been shot, but I understand it happens and it's been happening. The only difference now is that there's more cameras around to record it,
Right.
And it's not, I'm not saying that any of it is right. No, it's not right. I've been on the end of, a cop's taser and, pepper spray and beat up, but at the same time, I wasn't making the best. I'm not trying to justify anything, but I wasn't doing the best. I kind of incited these things. You know what I mean? With my own rebellious nature. You know what I'm saying? So I think it comes.
But then that's what's missing, is what I think. A lot of what's missing is the same thing like what they do in cults. They take out the individual responsibility and they put it the group responsibility, and they make it seem as if it just happens just because of your race, when it might be something like, I have a story too with two NYPD cops that pushed me down some stairs one time just because I spit on the railroad tracks. I spit on railroad tracks that in New York City that had tons of garbage and rats, and I didn't know they were undercover. And yeah, I was being slick at the mouth after that. So I take responsibility for what I did. Now, was it right what they did? No. If I was a cop, I'm not going to be pushing around some 17-year-old kid just because he got a smart mouth. Teach a lesson. That could have really got hurt. They pushed me down flights of stairs, and if I didn't jump and landed on, I would have landed awkwardly or whatever if I didn't jump. But yeah, I have a situation. I remember reporting it. I still remember the one of their badge numbers. And like, it was like a moment in my life where I was like, man, NY pricks and dicks. I hated the NYPD and the cops and all of that. And, I feel a little bit different now about, I understand the mentality. It's like, they're like the enemy regardless. It's like, there was always like that. Me growing up as a kid, it was like, you always had to watch for the cops. Now I look at it and I was like, yeah, I kind of asked for certain things,
I believe it's just part of, growing up in the hood, to be honest, like, and it's the same story around the whole country. You know what I mean? It's, we don't see the cops as, protectors because they're arresting and killing our uncles and aunts and fathers and, mothers. Like, so, I mean, I get it. I've actually had a white person say that to me. He was like, yo, like, I completely get why y'all don't trust them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't either, but that still doesn't, I think one of the major arguments is, who said it? Styles P, we talking about hip hop and whatnot, but he has a track. I forget. I can't remember the track it is, but he makes a statement. He says, niggas will sell drugs, but they won't flip a burger. You know what I'm saying? He was like, shit, I was there too. I don't care too. Like, that's real shit. Like, we'll sit here and put ourselves in the position to be screwed with and then get mad at them for doing their job. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And as a teenager, you couldn't tell me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just the situation that I was, that I was brought into, because I didn't ask to be here. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make what you did or what they did right. We're just creatures of this circumstance that we're in. But I just think it's crazy because it's a very people look for simple answers for a very complex issue. Like, there's not just one simple answer for these issues here. Like, it's very complex. It's very, there's different perspectives on everything when it comes to this. So I think a lot of people, like you said, cognitive dissonance. I have to this day, even after discovering epistemology and philosophy and all this, I still have cognitive dissonance. I'm no better than anybody else, on this on this live or out in the world. Like I have, I have issues with being a libertarian. Like I don't believe in God. So how, as a libertarian, you believe you have God-given natural rights.
Yeah.
How can I justify that as a libertarian and an atheist? So I have cognitive dissonance right now that I'm trying to figure out.
Cognitive dissonance. And I thought that the Christian K-Dub was going to bring this up, how, being an atheist or being I guess a meat eater, right? Because if you believe that we're all living, we're all connected, and we're all living animals, even humans are animals, right? Then why are we eating other animals? Why is it okay? Like, isn't that a little bit contradicted? And it's like, I thought about it. I thought he was going to bring it up, so I tried to prepare for a good answer. And I was like, it is. I was going to tell him it is contradicting. We do eat. We eat flesh. We eat all this, and it's like, we consider ourselves living. And yet we still. Some people would have pets that are like bunny rabbits and stuff, but other people would consider that dinner. So it's like, it is. Yeah, it is like a I guess a double standard. And how we treat animals. And, I mean, I thought he was going to bring that up, but just to throw that out there. But, man, I know what you're saying, though, with like, it's like they make us feel like, oh, we don't have no choice. And then they excuse certain things that are better for us. Like you mentioned, Styles P said that you fling crack rock or you have a wicked jump shot.
Sure.
But that's not your only choice.
No, it's not. It's not the only choice.
They make it feel like those are the only options.
I'm 31 now. If I had the same level of knowledge I've gained in the last 6 years, and I've heard people throughout my whole life tell me this. If I knew what I know now at your age, I'd be this. I'm saying the same thing because it's like I feel like we get so caught up in the moment of what's going on, we can't sit back and see the bigger picture of and I think that happens with everybody. And if you can see that, you're a special person. But a lot of us, we we're young, and we think we know everything. And I try not to be. I've been told I'm arrogant. I say no, I'm confident. But I try to remain humble and in my knowledge, and that's what I tell my friends. Like you should study epistemology. You should try to like look into philosophy, look into other things. Oh, I don't want to learn. That's the white man. I'm like, bro. So knowledge is, by using that logic that you just said. So basically everything that we can prove and, use to observe the world and come up with more reasonable answers is the white man's knowledge. And everything that we're using, based off of superstition and tradition is everything else. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to use something that works, opposed to something that clearly has been used against us time and time again. The Bible's been used against us, has been weaponized against us throughout history. And to me, the Hebrew Israelites aren't doing anything different. You're not doing. I mean, you're not. It's not anything different. You're still using it as a weapon to control your mind and get you to be obedient to some other, whether it be the government, because I'm pretty sure some people can draw connections that the Bible is, another form of government overreach. You know what I mean? Like it's no different in my eyes. This is only my perspective, But I just think cognitive dissonance. A lot of people just need to be honest with what they know and what they don't know, and the flaws of their own character. And I think Fab said it in the Soul Tape. Actually, he didn't say it, but I don't know if you guys heard Fab's Soul Tape. I think first track called Pain. It's an excerpt from Tupac, and he's saying, he was like, a lot of people have a hard time, being true to themselves. I am who I am today because I can look at the mirror and look directly into my soul. Now I don't believe in soul. I don't believe in the soul, but I understand what he's saying. You know, I understand like, you know, you got to be honest with yourself, man. And you know, the less honest with yourself you are, the more issues you're gonna have with your thought processes and what you come to believe and what you think you believe or what you think you know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Being honest with yourself. Yeah, that's what that's what the point that I came to when I was like, okay, I got to be honest with myself when it comes to this cult. That's what helped me get out of the mind controls. It was being honest. I don't know if you could agree with that, Harry.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, it took time. When you left, it took some time for me to get back up with you. Took some years. I actually saw you on a video on the Rebel Alliance Media channel, and I was like, I think I was still a believer at the time, and I saw you talk about Nabi. You came up earlier. I forgot to bring this up because this is another, you know, situation that shows you how strong the mind control could be. Where, I mean, what was the story that you brought up on the Rebel Alliance Media video that you were speaking about that story with Nabi?
Yeah, this was like literally like a couple of months before I left. That this story came out that the order was that nobody was supposed to get in contact with General Nabia. Don't speak to him. Don't say nothing to him at all. Because I guess he was like indefinitely kicked out of the church or whatever. And then it came out that I guess he did something against Jermaine, and then Jermaine like made him like go outside for like a long time, and it was cold, and like he ended up catching like some like pneumonia or like chest and like a chest congestion or something like that. Yeah, like bronchitis. It was like something real bad that he ended up getting because he made him stand outside for like that X amount of time.
Story.
What's that?
How did you hear that? Where did that come? How did that come out?
I think I heard that from it was either Azari Nathan or it was Shayar. I know it was one of those two brothers that I heard it from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started getting in contact with brothers again after a while when you left.
Yeah.
That happened.
That happened when I seen like Alex. He was like one of the first people, you know, that you know, he started making videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I started reaching out to him, you know, and then we started linking back up. I linked up with Laharash, linked up with and I started linking up with you. And then that's when I found out you got out. And then you know, just, you know, we kind of like fell in line. Like after the departure, we kind of fell back, you know, we fell back into, you know, the camaraderie. It was almost like we never missed a beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was good. And it was good to get that back because when you leave the cult, everybody turns their back on you. So I know you felt like you already knew that. So you didn't even try to talk to anybody like that, right? I actually did, even though I knew that they were going to listen to me.
Yeah.
I would show up. I showed up at the temple one time. I showed up at one of their seminars. And I was just showing up, and I was like, and they were like, "Yo, what are you doing? Like, you already know we ain't gonna talk to you."
Yeah, I went to one of the seminars with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. The one that was after they had already kicked me out. They got the library cop on me. I was just you know, I wasn't disrupting at all. But I was recording, but I was sitting there just because they didn't know what to say, the library cop was just confused. Like, why am I kicking him out?
Yeah.
It was like, is this supposed to be open to the public?
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right, whatever, I'm out. I was like, I'm not gonna deal with, you know, this is kind of crazy anyways. Like, you know, we're not gonna get anywhere. So yeah, I went outside of the library and there was a few brothers there dressed in all black, standing, you know, holding posts, you know, standing.
That was Amawan.
Standing in attention. It was Amawan and his brother Mike, but I believe both of them were. And then you came through. And it was just at that point they were like just suspicious of us. They probably thought that we were working for the FBI or something like that.
Yeah.
So all those type of stories come out after you leave, because that helps you stay in the mind control. You know, these brothers, because they have no other explanation. We didn't do anything evil to them or anything like that at all. So their best explanation is, well, they must have damn turned feds or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think after years of you being away, definitely had to help that mind control just get away, because the routine of the mind control is what keeps you in there. It's just that routine. They don't have that going on anymore now that, you know, COVID is out and they can't congregate. They have the phone calls now. They do everything over the phone now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the mind control, it looks like it's still there. They're still believing in Tazadakia. And at this point, it's like delusional. It's a delusion.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it, but yeah, so that's sad, man. I mean, that's the type of things that happen. You know, they force you to stand out in the cold, and that brother, I wish he would come out and speak, because now that Tazadaki is dead, I don't know what's really holding him back.
Yeah, man, that's who I've been waiting on. I mean, because he was like his right hand man when it came to like security, you know, like that's like one of the people.
As they were kicking him out, I think you said that he was told, or no, somebody else said this. I think it was I forgot who said this, but it came out that Nabia was told, and don't be trying to dish out dirt on us, because we have dirt on you too. So they're trying to hold that over his head.
Wow.
So Nabia. So I think it was one of the Byzantine. I forgot who it was that said that. One of the old bishops said that that somebody was holding posts that day that they kicked them out, and they told him that, you know, that we got something on you too. That they're holding that, blackmailing him, because he must know things. So that's how they control you. Not only the mind control tactics, but they blackmail you. Like, everything was videotaped. And yo, Jimmy, this man would videotape all the counselors, right? He videotapes everything. So that way, when you leave, remember when Alex left, Terry? They was holding a video over his head of what he said. Oh, you know, this place is the truth, and I love this place.
Yeah.
You hold that over your head, and they use
quote
to show, yo, what happened, son? What happened, son? You was talking like this. What happened, yo? And they embarrass you. You know, they humiliate you like that.
Yeah.
So you basically can't have a change of opinion based off new facts that you
yeah, because now that makes you a double-minded person. And scripture says a double-minded person is unstable in all his ways. You don't know what you want to believe in. You're constantly changing your beliefs. You know, they were saying that about me.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know, I think a lot of the time is, you know, like I ask people, you know, like even me, like I said, I used to be into conspiracy theories and all that stuff too. I used to be an anti-vaxxer, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to, and I realized, I was like, you know, why do I believe this stuff? You know, once one simple word was introduced to me, you know, like you said, actually, shit, didn't really, like I said, I didn't really know most of the arguments, you know, that support atheism until I actually started talking to my friend about Hebrew Israelites. It actually forced me to become a better to ground myself better in, you know, my arguments, because it's like, all right, if I can't talk to you about the Bible and how you know the Epic of how Noah's flood was actually stolen from the Epic of Gilgamesh and all these other things, if you're not going to listen to that, you're not going to listen to, you know, all the BS and, you know, genocides that happen, and how I believe that your God isn't, you know, a moral being. You know, if you're not going to listen to that, I was like, all right, well, what else can I go into? Reason. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let me try to at least point out that what he, you know, the position he's holding is unreasonable. And that's what kicked me off into epistemology. And from there on, it went into, you know, philosophy, you know, Immanuel Kant, David Hume, you know, all these great thinkers that, you know, still to this day have came up with ideas. What was it? DeCant, who said, "I think, therefore I am." Even though he said that and it was profound at the time, we still figured out a way to say, "Hey, that's still flawed. This
Yeah.
is, I think, therefore I am." There are corrections for all this. It just leads you to believe, like, yo, we really don't know anything. I mean, we know a lot, but we don't know almost anything about what's really going on here. You know what I mean? Through when we can get into quantum mechanics and all these other things. Like, to me, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to me, but I think again, I'm only an individual, so I can't speak for what's fascinating for somebody else and where other people stop, their questioning nature. I was told to question with boldness. I forget. I wasn't told that. Somebody said that, and I can't remember who said it. Some philosopher said question with boldness. I don't know if it was Socrates or Aristotle. Somebody said it. I don't remember who it was, but I try to live myself. I try to live by that standard. Question with boldness. I tell my kids all the time, don't ever, not don't ever think that you can't ask me why. You know what I'm saying? Because as a kid, I was always told by my parents, "Oh, because I said so." I don't want to be like that. I want to at least give a reason, because what I found is, as a child, when I heard that, it never really, it was never a good reason. Because you said so. Well, mom, you're not the best judge of character. You know what I mean? Because it's a double standard here. You know what I'm saying? So I try to, practice what I preach, and at least try to give my kids and everybody else around me a good understanding of why I do the things I do and why I believe what I believe. So
Yeah, that's going to give you the best armor and against any of this mind control stuff, because it's everywhere. It's not just in religion. It's everywhere.
Everywhere. I fell victim to network marketing. I fell victim to conspiracy theories. I almost fell victim to flat earth. And I'm a science buff. You know what I mean? Like, I almost fell victim to it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, as a conspirator, I forget what it's called. There's a I forget what it's called. There's a psychological term that's used for people who are prone to conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it is, but I was one. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, I've made these mistakes. Why did I believe this? You know what I mean? Well, partly it was because I just didn't know enough. I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. And that takes a lot for somebody to sit back and look and say, damn, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. You know what I mean? So the Dunning-Kruger effect, that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, was there anything else, final words y'all wanted to say? Because I'm going to wind it down. It's getting late. It is Sunday night. Yeah. So, Harry, was there any final words you want to say? Anything? Maybe to like the remaining members, or if not, you don't have to. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just for anybody that's in there that, if ever they come across this video, if you still find yourself in there, man, just take that leap of faith. I mean, there's been so many reasons, so many so many proofs given to you to where you need to be out. Just take that leap of faith. Don't think about these made up consequences. Just take that leap of faith. That's all I got to say.
Follow your gut.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a leap of faith at this point. It's like,
oh yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, thank you for coming along, Terry, man. I know it's it's late. I got you over here. We've been wanting to do this for a while, but
yeah,
this was great. And Jimmy, was there anything else you wanted to close out with? I'm gonna get you back on anyway, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'll be back. Don't worry. I actually want to get into that conversation you had with K-Dub.
Yeah.
He actually asked me to come on the show, but I kind of.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I kind of precepts, man. I kind of feel like there's nothing there to talk to them about, because they.
Maybe you could come back on and we'll go over that K-Dub interview, because I wanted to do that with another atheist that I had on. He wants to come back too, so we could do this again.
Yeah, definitely. But as far as my closing statements, epistemology is key, man. If any Hebrew Israelites on here that are listening, I challenge you, research and look into epistemology. Start trying to figure out the reasons you believe that book, and if they're good reasons, and how do you know that those reasons are true? You know, it'll open your mind and really have you start questioning a lot and challenging your own beliefs. You know, and that's part of growing. You know, challenge your beliefs.
Challenge your beliefs, and that's gonna help you avoid this mind control, because this is what we wanted. The topic we wanted to just touch on is how, you know, these things happen because of mind control. These, you know, this is not it's mind control. So the best way for you to understand these things is to understand how they imply these tactics, and it's done very, you know, it's sneaky, so you don't always catch it. So just hearing it from ex-members that we experience, that, you know, experience these things, and people that study logic and reasoning, you know, you can get a good understanding of where we go wrong and what the mistakes that we've made that put us in these positions, you know. So, you know, again, thank you guys. I'm gonna just end it at that. You know, this has been a great broadcast. San Miguel TV again. I'm gonna be back next week Sunday for those. If you want to return, it'll be at 9 p.m. most likely. If there's any changes, you know, I'll put that up so you guys can know ahead of time. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining, guys, and thank you for watching. This has been a broadcast of San Miguel TV. Peace out.
All right.
Guys.
Peace out.